DJ. Can you please do that crazy eye thing that you do on the video?
Crazy eyes thing makes my contacts pop out. But I will do this. So, you know Mr. Fizzles? Okay, so I have the original Mr. Fizzles. There's only one, and Supernatural never lets you take props. So they gave it to me for Christmas 2 years ago. He came like the day before Christmas, so he's in my bedside table. I took him to England once and left him. So, I know, right? So there was a big panic. So somebody made me a Mr. Fizzles. So I'll do Mr. Fizzles' voice for you though. Here we go. Mr. Fizzles can tell when you're alive. Mr. Fizzles is available for pictures and autographs.
From 2:30 to 5:30 this afternoon and tomorrow.
Exactly.
You got to admire a man who carries a sock pocket around him.
And since he's in my sock drawer, you would be, which is right next to my bed, you would be surprised at how many people have come over and found it and it creeped out. Because not a lot of people that I know watch Supernatural, and not a lot of people that I invite back into that environment know that show either. So, yeah. My buddy actually was the first guy to find it, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, dude, why do you have a?" And I was like, "He was like, you should put this away because this reads creepy." You don't know.
DJ, hi. Two questions for you. One, what's like the best part of working on Legit? Because it has to be quite possible with funding a show out there at the moment. And then, can I answer the second one first? And then the Ghostbusters, I see are looking for a new partner. What's the odds of Garth getting a go?
I'll answer the second part first. Actually, Travis and AJ have reached out to me about doing something with them, and I want to as soon as schedules permit. Also, we're pushing for season 10 of Supernatural to do something together. Either me and the Ghostfacers, or me and Jody Mills, Kim. I would really love to work with Ty, because Ty is actually my closest friend. You know Ty, he plays Benny. Ty Olsen, he's actually my closest friend from the show. Ty's actually moving in with me. He lives in Vancouver, he's moving in with me in LA. We actually can no longer be booked at the same domestic conventions because we have a bad reputation. So I'm anxious to see what happens when he moves in with me. What was the first part of your question?
What's the best part of working on Legit?
Oh yeah. I love working on Legit, but that's another show that I turned down because they showed me Jim Jeffries' comedy, and I had to be fully naked, full frontal naked in front of him in the pilot. And I said, no way, this guy's a dick. I'm not going to be naked in front of him. And then he took me to dinner, because I literally turned it down 5 different times. And he took me to dinner. And also, I'm in a wheelchair and I can't move anything but like 2 fingers, so that's hard. And I was a little nervous about that. But he took me to dinner, and Jim at the time had a homeless guy that he met a few days before living on his couch. He has the biggest heart, and I love him. Unfortunately, Legit got canceled last week. Because of lack of viewership. And it's the thing that I actually cried when it happened, because it's the thing that I'm most attached to that I've ever done. I love going there every week. The New York Times wrote a really great article calling me one of the 4 best actors on television like a month before it was canceled, which is, you don't get that when you do Road Trip and have sex with 300-pound people. You don't really get a lot of critical acclaim for that. So critical acclaim was like a new thing for me, and it's really addictive and it feels great. And also, I just loved going there every day. So I was really bummed and I cried. And then 20 minutes later, Sci-Fi Channel called and offered me a new zombie show. So I'm going to be fighting zombies when I go back to America. So hopefully we'll be able to steal that one instead of illegally download it as soon as it comes out. Which I'm a big fan of. If you can't get it in TV, steal it. So many people stole Legit and didn't get it that we got the axe. So it's part of it. Every actor has a story about that one job that went away that broke their heart, and that's mine.
Could you guys do your best impressions of Dean and Sam?
Of who?
Dean and Sam.
I don't know what you're saying.
Dean and Sam.
Dean and Sam? Oh, I have a story about that. I have a good story about that. You go first.
I only have my Dean.
You actually sound like him, kind of, when you talk.
Do I?
Yeah.
Well, I have the one. It's been a while. Sammy!
Good.
Sammy! That's my DNA.
I have a story about the way they talk though. So like I said, I'd only seen snippets of the show and then I went on and I heard they're notorious pranksters, right? And Jared had already pranked me before I worked. And so like there were some condoms and things in my dressing room and all that stuff. And so I heard they're notorious pranksters. My first scene was with both of them and they started, and it's a pretty emotional scene. It was like they were having a conflict and I was having to break it up and they started talking like that. And I thought they were messing with me. I was like, this can't be the way you act. This is kind of terrible. And so I went to the director and I was like, are they messing with me? And he was like, no dude, this is actually the show. And I realized after being in the show that contextually it works. But when you put that out like that, it sounds stupid. I mean, that's not the way we really talk. I've never adjusted my vocal quality before to play somebody, so I guess people do that. Maybe it makes you a good actor and I have no idea. But I thought they were terrible when I first met them. And I've also told them this to their face. So there's no secret. But they do things like, they mess with me all the time. Like my first episode, Jared took me to lunch and got me wasted. And then we go back and I was like, well clearly it's okay to get wasted, he's the lead actor. So we get pretty drunk and I have a scene with a lot of dialogue where, no, this is my second episode. It was the monster you could only see when you were drunk, the shoujo. And so like I had this scene where I find the shoujo and it's pretty physical. Like I have to jerk this guy around and I'm running and she throws me through a glass wall. And I am loaded. And Jared was done for the day, he went home. And so that's the kind of stuff he does to me all the time, so I don't feel so bad saying I thought they were terrible actors. Because it doesn't look like good acting in person.
Question for Jake. Not going to get into on the Gabriel scene where they're throwing bombs on people and it doesn't break, I think rather than smashes in your hand. Can you explain that scene?
He's asking about there's a scene where I'm called ass butt, I think. And there's a Molotov cocktail that's supposed to hit me and explode, and it just friggin' didn't. Take after take, it hit me in the nipple, it hit me in the sternum, hit me everywhere. But each time it wouldn't break, they would score it to try to make it weaker and weaker and weaker, and it wouldn't break, And finally, I mean, that thing was scored all over the place. They threw it, it didn't break, I picked it up, I was like, you son of a bitch, and it exploded in my hand. So that was the Molotov cocktail scene from hell.
What's so great about this show though? Is it how many times are you going to get a Molotov cocktail thrown at you? Yeah. That's it.
And then I got to see my stunt guy just go up in a ball of flames as they did the actual fire stunts.
They make me, because I'm hard to double, some of the stuff I have to do myself. They always shoot it on the last day in case I get hurt. But when I had to fly through the wall, they made me fly through the wall and then the guy landed on the other side.
They made me fly into a wall. They harnessed me, put a cord in my back, ran it through a wall, and then when I got shot with a shotgun in the house, just yank it.
Yeah, but you're better than me. I'm older and brittle.
What was it like being the bad guy in Percy Jackson?
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Sorry, I said the F word a minute ago.
I just thought that.
You're back. How was it being the bad guy in Percy Jackson? It's some of the most fun I think you can have is playing the bad guy. There's an actor in a film I did called I'm Number 4. Big, tall guy. He plays bad guys all the time, and I had a conversation with him one day and said, I can't wait to save a cat from a tree because this bad guy stuff, I do it all the time. And he said, listen man, pretty soon they're going to let you play the nice guy, and then they're only going to let you play the nice guy, and then you're going to get really bored, and you're going to be wishing you were the bad guy again. And that's kind of true. It's fun throwing Percy around.
My question's for Jake. How do you feel about the fact that the Percy Jackson films were terrible adaptations of the books? The Percy Jackson books are fantastic, of course.
Right.
But then the films change everything pretty much and
are terrible.
Yeah.
So that's a statement or a question? I'm wondering how you feel being part of a terrible series. It's pretty good. Trust me, because I've done a lot of adaptation in the film, and it's really hard for me to see a lot of that stuff changed. In the Percy books, Luke has a big scar down his face, right? He got it when he was a kid, and I really fought for that, man. I fought for that like every day. Please give me the scar. And they just wouldn't. The only way they compromised was the last fight scene with Percy from New York. He hits me with the sword and I get this little baby scar. Sometimes things in books just don't translate to film, which is really, it's a difficult pill to swallow, but it's really, really true. It's a different medium, it's a visual medium. But for me, it's important to fight for as much as I can, and I really do, and you don't always win.
Yeah, the fact is we don't have a lot of control over that kind of stuff. And I don't know, very few jobs in the world could you just show up and say, I'm an actor. Like, you can't just show up and say, I'm a veterinarian, right? So anybody in the world thinks they can be an actor, so it's very hard to get jobs. The odds of working 10 years in a row, making just enough to basically live, is 22 million to 1. So it's a really hard job to have. So we don't have a lot of power. A lot of times. We do try to fight for things, but I actually like those movies. I didn't know the books. I thought you were amazing in The Host. I really liked it. Because also, like, and when I look at a lot of movies I've done are crap, and I know they're crap, but you don't know they're crap until you're done with them a lot of times. So you just show up and you try to do the best that you can. So what your life becomes really just a series of memories that are attached to your work. So I really want you to like my work. I really, really want you to like my work. It hurts me when you don't. But if you don't, I had a good time. Do you know what I mean? So you really sort of have to divide it up like that. There's my little soapbox thing. I now feel like close to you, and so anytime somebody says something remotely negative, like I have to say something.
No, it's not negative at all. I mean, it's completely justified.
Right.
I think it's actually good to discuss that, because oftentimes you won't get to know that there are actors trying to fight a studio to say, this is really important, not only to like the fandom, but for my character. Because if Luke has a scar across his face, that affects him emotionally, and the way he interacts with people, and the way his reasons for fighting. It all stems from that childhood experience.
That makes sense. I'm going to go back and read the books and write you some angry letters. Good.
How do you think that the show should end?
Supernatural?
Yeah.
I know how it ends.
Get out!
Next question.
With the scene that you had with Jade, was it difficult to be perceived as Michael and Lucifer rather than Sam and Adam?
For me, it was difficult playing. Wait, to me or him?
Yeah.
Which one? To me, was it difficult playing
Michael.
Michael? Oh, well, what was really great about Adam was he was never Adam, right? I mean, first episode he was already eaten, so he was a ghoul playing Adam. So, and then the next episode, where was he? Somebody. It was 3 different people, right? And then, so Michael was just kind of like, I came up with some ideas of what it might be like to be an angel or on Earth, and I don't know what that is. I've never met one to ask them. So you just kind of had to use your imagination. That was the most fun, was that he was always kind of somebody different, you know. But yeah, that's why I would come back and then maybe come back having eaten somebody else. But I guess I would look like them, so they couldn't use me. I don't know. I'm in the cage, I think it's implied. Yeah. I fell down the pit. I think I fell down the pit with Seven.
Okay, I saw that. I didn't really watch it that well. Okay.
Oh, hello. Do you like pull pranks on your set, on the movie sets?
Full pranks.
Pull pranks. Yeah, I mean, it depends. I think it's easier to pull pranks on TV than it is on film, right? Because usually with a film, it's a short period of time, but when you're on a TV show, it's long running, so you sort of mess with each other more. It also depends if the show's more, if they're more male, like legit, it's all men. So we feel like more freedom to be terrible to each other. We have a saying on our set that if you don't go home crying at least once, we don't like you. And it's true. Jim has made me cry before, and I've made him damn near cry. But on films, I'm not really a prankster. I'm trying to think anything I would have done. I mean, no, I'm pretty well behaved, I think.
Does anyone know Max Irons from the host? He's my favorite guy to prank. He's probably the only guy I prank, actually. I don't know why. He's my adorable English friend, and I take the piss out of him all the time. He's afraid of moths and bugs, and so I put moths and bugs in his trailer. Just as much as I can on a general daily basis. I try to same kind of thing, just make him cry, make him blush.
There was Jared and Jensen pranked me once where I had to open a file. It was when I was dressed as I can't remember what episode it was, but I was dressed like a military guy. I was dressed like, I guess, an army guy. And I was a corporate Bobby Brown, I think. Corporal Bobby Brown. And I had to open a file and then read and then say something. And they put gay sex cartoons in the file. And I don't break. I do not like. I don't want to laugh because it shows that their prank won or they won me over and they got me to laugh. So what I usually try to do is like kind of hold it together and I didn't laugh. And then the moment they called cut. And then my last episode where I turned into a werewolf, my eyes were closed for the first part of the scene, so I'm in a coma. And Jared kept unzipping and zipping his zipper up a bunch of times and it was just on me. And there's nothing scary. First of all, he has the loudest zippers in the world. But there's nothing scarier than a guy who's 6'4" or 5" unzipping a zipper when you can't react to it. Because you honestly never know how far that's going to go.
Hi guys. Speaking of being terrible to each other, on the set of Supernatural, how are your lives affected by Jared's gas?
Well, I've only done 3, but I've met Farticus more than once. It's pretty horrendous. I mean, the man just eats meat and vegetables all day long.
He eats a tremendous amount of food. I mean, he's a giant. Yeah, it's bad. It's not as bad as what happened on Legit, though. We no longer could have Mexican Day anymore because of what Jim did one day on the set. And it's just go outside, dude. It's hot lights. You're in a confined area. Sets are usually very
It's
small.
a sport for Jared.
Yeah, it is.
It's like shooting deer.
I hate farting.
Hi. My question is for both of you. In Supernatural, what's your favourite episode that you've starred in?
What's your favorite show besides Supernatural?
Is your favorite show or favorite episode of Supernatural? Episode of Supernatural. For me, it was definitely hands down the shoujo, the monster you can only see when you're drunk. It was really, really fun. We drank a little bit while we were shooting it. But also, that was the episode where I realized, if you ever watch Supernatural, do you know our hunter coats? Do you ever notice all the stuff that we pull out of these tiny little pockets? There are people, they cut the bottom of the pocket, and there are people just below you eating the things from these pockets. So I had to pull out like 4 bottles of alcohol. I'm picking a lock. The lock picks, and I pulled out a flashlight that was about that long, that big. So that was a really fun day. It's really fun to see how they do things. But, I mean, pretending to be inebriated but not, it's hard, but it's fun. And also the shoujo monster was really, really cool. The stunt was fun that day. So that's definitely my favorite.
I think my favorite would be Adam's first episode because it was so adventure packed. It was new. I got to lie in the coffin with my carcass that was eaten out, and got in a big fight with Sam and Dean, and was digging a knife into Sam, drinking his blood, which was terrible. But yeah, it's an incredible first episode.